Since I got diagnosed, my mind and my brain are working in synergy.
Oh.
And it's like, I've got teary eyes. It's
Oh.
honestly, it's like my whole world just shifted for me. It's like I see the world for who I am and how it is, and I understand why I do things the way I do it.
Thanks a lot for joining me today, Djouka.
You're welcome.
And I think this is a very important conversation, and I want us to dive right into it. Can you share with us your experiences with dating as a neurodivergent Black woman?
That's a lot to unpack there.
I know.
But I think that I'm not going to go all the way from my very first experiences, but I think when I started dating, I kind of like didn't know I had ADHD. So that's something. Like there was a before and an after me knowing that I was neurodivergent. And my dating experience when I was before, it was kind of like erratic, obsessed. Like I was obsessed with the person I was with. And if I was not in communication or if I was not in intense, like if I didn't get to know the person very well, I can just like forget about them. This was before me knowing I was the neurodivergent. Forward now in my mid-30s, I'm learning that I have this specific neurodivergence, and my condition is called ADHD. I actually like think about all my past experiences are literally symptoms.
Oh, wow. So it's really interesting because you did not know
I
you had
did not know.
ADHD.
No.
And I think that even before we proceed, we probably just need to unpack a little what neurodivergent conditions are.
Yeah.
And I am not a health professional. None of us is.
No.
But I think from my research, it means it's a different kind of wiring.
Yes.
Mentally.
Yes.
That's somewhat affects you in different ways.
It affects so it affects your emotional regulations. It affects some of your behaviors, how you're going to tackle a task. It affects how you see the world. It affects your mental health, like your mental tiredness, your mental fatigue. It impacts how you also tackle simple things on your day-to-day. Like example, I do not like cleaning up, but I'm a very tidy person.
Interesting.
But it's so bizarre. Like I don't like cleaning after myself, but I'm a very tidy person. I don't like mess. But then I don't like cleaning.
So you don't like doing it
I don't like
by
doing
yourself.
it by myself, but I don't like a messy space or anything that's like a bit weird. It just disturbs me.
Oh, wow.
You see. Now, if I'm going back to dating in regards to these symptoms, there is something called object permanence.
Really?
So it's the fact that if I don't see something on the day-to-day basis, I just don't think about it.
Wow, that's interesting.
It can't.
It's more like an out of sight, out of mind situation. Exactly. So is it something that could happen when you're dating someone and you don't see them and then hear from them, then you forget about them? Out of mind, out of sight. Wait,
out of sight. The other way around.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
some people can use that as an excuse.
The contrary also exists. There's also like when I'm in my obsessive, like it's called like object obsession, and if this person has given me the love, the care, the attention that I need, so my brain will be only thinking about that non-stop. Wow. And it can become very, very, from mild obsessiveness to like crazy.
Wow.
So,
like extreme
to extreme case of stalking.
I was gonna ask about stalking. Okay. Maybe we shouldn't go there.
But yeah, that's
wow.
just to say that it can lead you there because you're just like you want that object, you want to be with it. You don't understand why they don't want you, even though they've expressed that maybe you guys are not meant to be together, but because you're just like having that obsession, it's just your brain. It's not it's not even your feeling. Sometimes you'll be like, I don't even know why I like this guy. It's your brain that's wired that way because it has that focus on something and it just wants it.
And that's also very concerning because I think that a lot of people, particularly Black people, have these conditions but are not diagnosed.
When I got diagnosed, the person, I think it was like a psychologist, and so he said that in the Black community, people tends to be less diagnosed because it's not something that we particularly pay attention, and it's such a pity because in the other communities, ADHD get diagnosed quite early, and when it get diagnosed early on, you can get corrected. It can get fixed, and you can get the help. And there's like exercises, there's like behavioral therapy that can be done because it's still early, and help the person actually not completely like get cured, but at least their brain will be like more like as a neuronormal person. But because unfortunately Black children experience discrimination from school, so all the behavior that is seen on other communities will be misjudged as misbehavior, as this kid is not listening, or this kid is just sleeping. I remember being in school and being sleeping during my classes. And I know that if I was a white little kid, I would be asked, why are you being sleepy?
Yeah.
And one of the symptoms of I can sleep during meetings if I'm bored.
Wow.
No matter.
I mean, till date?
Till, yeah.
I mean, is that not...
It has, I have to have interest. If it doesn't interest me, I'm just quiet. My brain just shut down because I have zero interest in this. Wow. And this is something that used to happen to me as a child. But if, as a child, they picked this up, they would have given me exercises. Oh, okay, because you're bored in class, do this instead.
That's really interesting because I've heard someone speaking about this subject, and she was talking about how Black children are sometimes labeled. She cited an example of a child, of her son, who was... he used to study a lot at home, so what the teacher was teaching him in class he already knew, and because of that he was bored, so he was pulling other children's hair, doing stuff just because he was bored. And her son was being labeled as a special child. They wanted to label him and put him in some part of the system. When she contested, long story short, at some point they gave him a higher class test to write, and then they realized that he was talented and gifted. So that is how this boy could have easily been labeled and put into some... That's crazy.
That's what happened to me, and I am sure there's like many other Black children who don't have supportive parent as this person that you just said about, that would just like, oh yes, no, I don't care, like just like the state will just take care of them,
My God.
So it's I'm just lucky because every part of my career were like area of interest for me. If they were not interesting to me, I would have never succeeded.
So now you work in fashion.
I do.
Which is an area that you really enjoy.
It's an area that I really enjoy.
And it's also manifesting you every day because like your fashion choices are very impressive, I must say. So back to dating.
Yeah.
So when you were not aware that you had ADHD, and then when you became aware, have your dating choices changed?
They have changed, and the way my interaction with men has been just like men.
Okay, you have to break that down.
So basically, you know how like when a man tells you something, and before like this is like, okay, we're gonna do like a before and after.
Okay.
So before ADHD diagnostic, when a man used to tell me something and then didn't proceed to go with what he said, I would be heartbroken. I would be like crying, all your disappointment and this and this and that. After ADHD, I'm not believing a single word you're telling me until I see action. So whatever you're saying, again, out of sight, out of mind. I do not. It's like it just goes in here. It comes out of here. I don't see or I don't believe you until I see it.
Wow.
And if it comes into any, like, how will I say, I will meet someone and then they just stop, like, you know how dating in London can be, like,
Yeah.
they just like stop. My guy, don't even like it. I'm okay.
You know what? It saddens me to say that this seems to be what even women who are, I think they call it neurotypical, people who do not have neurodivergence conditions. This seems to be the case, that women who are neurotypical tend to have to do this to survive, even if they are not neurodivergent. And now it begs the question, where is the problem from?
Me as a neuro person, like I'm not giving any how will I say it? I'm not putting any faith in the word a man tells me until I actually see the actions.
Yeah.
And it's easier for me to not take into consideration their word. And it might be difficult for a neurotypical person because, they like to, as I said, we love to believe. We like, like women, yes, my man said this, we're going to do this. For me, it's very easy.
Seeing is believing.
Seeing is believing.
So have you ever told a partner you're neurodivergent, and did you feel supported?
Yeah. I've recently met some people who have just been like, I've got this. So some of my behavior may not be like what you're expecting from a woman, So like from a normal person. So don't be straightforward. I will tell you cash things how they are without going, because we neurotypical, we're like literal.
Yeah.
So this is this. And no, there's no I don't even understand how do you call it? It's like, when people are trying to
subtle way of yeah.
Like flirting for me is like flirting with a pit bull. Like I go cash for it.
Well, yeah, I kind of know that.
That's why I say like I'm like a man when I'm trying to get someone, I go for it.
Yeah.
I don't really like turn around and do this. So it might frighten some.
So is it your way of ensuring that you're not victimized?
I don't think so. I'm really owning up to it. I'm not. I will feel like I understand what you mean, but I don't feel like that. I really feel like this is me, and I like being like this. I rather like not take the first lead, because I like to have a man leading or whatever. But I always have to be open about what I want and what I don't want.
Okay.
And it's for me, if I rather know things as they are than not knowing at all. It works better for my brain.
That's so curious. So when you told the person, back to the previous question, when you told the person, what was their response?
They were like, okay, we'll see. And
okay. Then we saw.
And then they were gone.
Oh my God.
It's fine.
And one of the things we're discussing even before filming was that we're talking about how it might even be difficult for Black women, particularly because already we don't get a lot of support, and people just assume that we're strong, we can bulldoze our way through things, and it's just like the softness with which, for example, a Caucasian woman would be handled or dealt with. We don't tend to get that.
No.
Because for some reason, I don't know, I think also culturally, and also people just assume that you're strong, person. Like the strong Black woman thing. Yeah. I used to feel like, oh yeah, strong Black woman. But I just realized that people are beginning to take us for granted. They just feel like, oh, strong Black woman.
I can do anything I want.
You can do anything. Exactly.
No, I will be the person crying in front of you. I'm a crybaby. I honestly, if something like I get hurt, I'll cry.
You should.
I don't hold off that strop anymore. I don't believe in it. And I'm tired of being the strong person.
Yeah.
So if need to be, if someone hurt my feeling or whatever, I'll just I'll let it go, and you can see my softness,
But that's actually very beautiful. Yeah. And I think because of that, it got to a point where we felt like we needed to hide or mask our femininity.
Exactly.
It must be really, really hard to have to deal with that, and also deal with having ADHD, for example.
Told you, I cry. I've like before ADHD, I've had like all these like, oh yeah, I know I have to be strong, honestly. And then life events and like, you know how the Black family dynamic is also like a bit tough and whatnot. And I've decided that for my own, like my own well-being.
Yeah.
No.
So you like just cry?
I will just cry.
So like, is this are you crying because you really crying, or you crying just to?
At work, I'll cry.
You cry at work.
I'm a soft girl.
I want to talk about that. Like you cry at work.
I will cry at work. I will cry if something upset me. Yeah, I've done it. Yeah.
So what did that?
Well, like you get comfort. Like it's normal.
That's actually really...
Do you see what I mean? Like, why are you going to be this hard person everywhere?
Because some other people would cry, though. But like, some other... They would cry, and then everyone would empathize with them.
That's why I said, if you're crying, I'm crying as well.
Yeah.
So I don't take pride in saying, like, yeah, I cry every time. But I really, like, let my emotion be shown. Like, if I'm upset, I do say it. But if I get upset to the point of, like, yeah, I really, like... It hurts my emotions.
Yeah.
Like, it hurt me deeply. I will... let the tears come out.
Do you feel like you have to live to the, for example, at work, do you feel like you have to be very conscious of your Blackness in a way that if you were upset and express that, someone would be like, oh yeah, that's how they are, Black people, Black girls?
I am so lucky to work in a company that's not like that.
Oh, that's great.
Despite me being a minority, like where I think now we're 3 Black women in the company. Before it was just me. I am so lucky to be in a company that welcome my humanity as I am.
That's
great.
They
don't see me as the Black girl in the office. They are so kind and really sees me as a human being before seeing my color or whatnot. I think the only time they've seen my color is to like check if a color of a garment will match someone that's going to wear it. Like, you know, they'll be like conscious if it's going to look ugly or like, you know, that's the only time they will mention my skin
I actually
color.
like that. And I'm not trying to, because I know that like, I'm not trying to talk a lot about your job. Because I know, of course, we want you to keep your job. But I'm really impressed because I know you work in fashion, and just the mention of the fact that they would intentionally or deliberately try to see if the garment would match a Black person or someone of a different color, skin tone. That's actually really impressive.
You don't have that many, and I've worked with many companies, especially like in France. They don't do that there. They will completely not a single care. So for me to be able to be doing this in this company here, I'm like really appreciative of them.
Yeah. So what's the one thing that you would say has happened to you in dating that really stood out for you because of your ADHD, but one experience that you've had, whether it's good or bad, that just made you feel like, okay, this is because of my neurodivergence?
So I would say the bad one first. And funny enough, I think I recognized that the person that I was dealing with was on the spectrum as well. And it ended like in a very like almost violent way, but with words and with menaces. Do you say that in English?
Menaces.
Like when somebody threaten you. Sorry.
Threats.
Yeah. Threats.
Yeah.
So it was more with
what's the French word for
menace?
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So there are threats.
So yeah, so it ended like with threats, and in my brain, I literally foreseen what was going to happen. I was like, this is bad. This is terrible. So just like walk away before you escalate. But in this person's brain, I was already his object of obsession. So meaning that me pulling out of the relationship, because I literally disappeared from his life, like without even telling him I was going.
Wow.
I just pulled out completely, ghost as a proper ghosting. And then he became the person that was like stalking, calling, trying to reach out and whatnot. And that was the object of obsession.
So you think he also was on the spectrum?
He was definitely on the spectrum. Like we recognize each other's. But I feel like because he was not diagnosed and he was a Black person, so I feel like he's never had a conversation of you know, like maybe he might be different, but I recognize the way he was handling things, like administrative way, like the way he would go about outside. Like it's something that I would do, so I recognize it, and I know the way I do things. Some of my friends was like, interesting, I wouldn't do this like this. So I know it's kind of like a neurodivergent way of dealing with things, so I can recognize it in other neurodivergent people.
Do you think so? I was reading on the internet, and some people are saying it's better for neurodivergent people to date other neurodivergent people. What do you think about that?
I don't know.
You don't think so?
My experience was terrible, so I didn't enjoy it because I felt like I saw myself too much, and then I felt like I was having, because I've kind of like read about my illness, I kind of like my condition, and I've got ways of helping myself in this world. I didn't want to be with someone who also is dealing with what I'm dealing with, and we have to help each other go through things. It's like too hard. Like in my brain, it was too hard.
Yeah.
So on the other side, I've dated people who are not neurodivergent, and they've been very soft and gentle with the way they like view me. Like it's almost like as if he was a totem of immunity.
Ooh, okay.
That's why I say I'm really in my soft girl era, and it can't, like, honestly, when I say, oh, I'm a bit neurodivergent, I don't understand things the normal way, so you have to be very explicit with what you're telling me.
Yeah,
it really shifts the way men kind of like talk with me, because it's like it's not like they don't want to deceive me, but when they tell me something, I'm like always pushing. I don't understand what you mean by this. Explain. Be clearer. So it has been more, I would say, enjoyable dating and telling people that I am neurodivergent, and with people who are not neurodivergent, I prefer it.
Have you felt any kind of discrimination on any occasion that you've mentioned that you were neurodivergent?
No.
That's great.
Maybe there have been, but again, I might have disregarded it.
Okay.
You see, but I'm not gonna say I've never.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever felt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually really good. But have there been any positives?
Honestly, yes. So growing up, I always felt like something was different with me. I've got like issues with numbers and letters together. So my math was terrible, always terrible. I always like felt like I failed math like on so many exams. It was just ridiculous. But then if you give me history, if you give me dates, you give me contest, I was like
killing it.
I was killing it in those areas. So I've always felt like something was different with me, and struggled growing up and not understanding why I was so different, like why I was on this, like just on the same level as all my friends, you know.
Yeah.
And since I got diagnosed, my mind and my brain are working in synergy.
Oh, okay. I mean, so there's something with awareness, like being aware.
And it's like, I've got teary eyes. It's honestly, it's like, my whole world just shifted for me. It's like I see the world for who I am and how it is, and I understand why I do things the way I do it. Because it was so hard to always like comparing with other people. Why, you're doing things the way people are doing it, and then you're failing. But when you know who you are and why you're like that, everything is just so easier. Like sometimes I'm with people and we'll compare, I'm doing this like this, and I'm like, well, that's good for you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not doing it like that. And then they will ask you, but why are you not doing it the way I'm doing it? My way is better. I say, for you.
Yes.
Don't force it upon me.
Yeah.
Because I know how my brain functions.
Yeah.
And that's before, I would have tried to do the way.
That must have been really hard as a child. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm really beginning to think about it, because I've had once or twice I've thought about myself, and I feel like it's a whole thing having to go, am I going to ask someone if I have a challenge? Because I have had some, I don't know. You know, sometimes you see certain things that you've struggled with for a long time, and then it gets to a point where you read and you see that, okay, these symptoms are indicative of ABC, and I have not been diagnosed. I have not diagnosed myself. I've never really thought, but then I'm beginning to wonder, at what point did you feel the need to go speak to someone to the point that they diagnosed you?
So it was when I registered myself to go to university in this country, and there was like a whole pack of starter pack, or you get mental support if you feel like you have like a disability, no matter any type of disability. And again, I told you, I always felt that I had a disability, but I couldn't put a name on it. So I said, yes, I want to get diagnosed. So let me go actually find out. In my head, I was dyslexic, but just that because of my numbers and whatnot. And even sometimes I would like write the word, but put the number, mix up the sense of the words or like the letters. And when I actually got my my appointment, it was a diagnosis appointment. I think it took like 5 hours.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like instant. It wasn't a one. It wasn't like a 1 hour thing. It was a 5 hours.
I was even thinking it would take days.
Okay. It took 5 hours because you're like literally sitting with him and making exercises and talking.
Wait, so the whole session took 5 hours? I thought, that's
in
long.
In 1 day.
That's long. I thought it would take 5 hours for him to get back to you and tell you have this.
No.
Oh, that's a lot.
So it was like a full proper...
like an evaluation maybe? Or?
Yeah, it's what they call the diagnosis. And then after that, he was like... So a good thing, a bad thing, like it's not a bad thing, but then he was like, yeah, you're not dyslexic, you're not that, but you have ADHD. Like every single exercises that you've done, like everything, just like his paperwork or whatever. But he said this is what you have, so it means that you're on the neurodivergent. And then he said he also reflect that I've got a little bit of autism, but it's just mild compared to other people who might have it on a bigger spectrum. So ADHD is part of the autism spectrum. That's why we call it as a neurodivergent.
Oh my, thing. I don't know. I'm just feeling all sorts of things. I don't know. This is just very important. And I think how people navigate this world with neurodivergent conditions can be something that we throw to the back burner. And I feel also that, like we talked about, Black people generally, we have a lot of challenges with diagnosis, even access, to all of these, and support. Because the first thing that happens would be, this person is being an angry Black woman, or is being an angry Black person, instead of what could be wrong with this person.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I also do imagine, just a bit of a random thought, I'm also thinking about the number of Black people who have gone to jail just by being on the spectrum without knowing it, and because also we're not extended the same grace
as well. It's terrible, honestly, when you think about it, because it's like this when it's diagnosed so early on, your life gets so much better and easier.
Yeah.
Because there are some adults who get diagnosed since they were a kid, and then they get the help, and then they get medication, because there are some medication that people can take to help their brain work as a typical neurodivergent neuro person. But when you're kind of like an adult and you're being diagnosed, it's kind of like too late for you. There are some people who start on medication, but because the medication, when you start medication and you've already been neurodivergent for so long, the medication changes who you are completely. And I've got some friends who are like, I started medication and I wanted to off myself because they were like completely different person. It made them normal in a sense of way, but then they didn't recognize who they were. Like their taste in music, how they approach emotions and whatnot was completely tuned off, because now that neuro, like the way the brain was wired, the way the brain used to work, they didn't recognize it themselves. So I choose to not go on medication. I choose to work on things on my own, on my emotion, and I've got tools to help me do that actually. So there are some people who prefer, when they get diagnosed, they prefer to get the medication and then they can do things like this. But I said to myself, you know what? You've been this person for so long.
Yeah.
And if you can manage, like now you know what's going on with your brain and you actually know how.
Yeah.
Just deal with it. And that's what I'm doing.
Oh, great. I just want to say the last word. If you knew, for example, someone who was neurodivergent, who had ADHD, autism, dyslexia, either of them or multiple, whichever one, what would be your advice to them navigating, whether it's dating or generally just life as someone
to embrace who they are? Because we are so special. We see things so, like, you guys don't realize it, but we see things so differently. And instead of forcing ourselves to be in the typical way of being, keep being your person, keep being different, keep being this, we say spicy neuro.
Oh, spicy neuro. Yeah. That actually sounds nice.
And there's also why, like, going back to dating.
Yeah.
There's something called autism riz.
Autism riz. What is that?
So it's like people with autism.
Yeah.
We have a special way of flirting with people, and it's like it's trending on TikToks.
Really?
It is. So it's wow. We have a special way of viewing the world. So I feel like just keep it for yourself. Don't change who you are. Embrace it.
That's good, because I feel like I'm missing out. I didn't even know it was a thing. Oh, that's. Thank you so much, Djouka. I just have one last thing to ask you. I want to use this platform also to encourage people to be kind and nice to people. And I have one last question. You have been kind to us by sharing all that you have done. I just want us to wrap it up really nicely with a nice bow on top. Okay. If you could just tell us, what does kindness mean to you?
Kindness to me is offering without expecting something in return.
Oh.
And it can be not just material, but like time, attention, love, care, just information.
Oh, that's so sweet. Makes me want to cry.
You have to
that's
offer
so
without
hoping
to get something in return. That's how I judge people, by their kindness.
And you have been extremely kind today by sharing without expecting.
You're welcome.
And all of the things that I'm sure everyone watching us at home or wherever they are would be grateful. And thank you so much. Could you share with us how they can follow you on socials?
So I have Instagram, that's called _DJOUKA _. Okay. And then on TikTok, where I'm a bit more active, which is called Djouka Style, DJOUKA, and then style afterwards.
DJOUKS.
Oh yeah, KS
style _style.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, if you even remember it, maybe.
Yeah, because I enjoy watching your TikToks. Please follow Djouka. Follow her on social media and see a lot more. I think you share a lot of really interesting style tips and general life conversations, which I think is very good.
I feel like as a neurodivergent person, I cannot stick to just one subject. So anything that comes to my mind, that's why I post it on.
Oh, great. This has been an interesting conversation. And for you watching us, I hope that you're able to also extend an act of kindness by sharing this video with someone. And if you are new here, you're welcome to the family. I'm really hoping to grow this channel massively this year, and I hope that you help me do that. So if you haven't subscribed, please remember to subscribe. Leave any comments in the comment section. I'd like to know your experiences, whether it is as someone who is neurodivergent or someone who's dated someone who is neurodivergent, or generally someone who is curious to know more or knows someone who is neurodivergent. I'd like to hear. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments of the video, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye.